Good morning. Every year we gather at this same place to recall an event that has reverberated throughout the world and certainly throughout the United States, 9/11. It's amazing to even consider that it's been 12 years since that horrible day. And I'm sure that everybody here, except some of the young ones in the back, will remember exactly where they were at that day, at that time. And it's altogether fitting that we each year commemorate and remember the importance of being Americans and being patriots, and pass that example on to the beautiful young people who entertained us just before. We have a full calendar of speakers and events today. Allow me, without delay, to introduce to you Pastor Pete Tokar.
I'm going to invite you all to rise for the presentation of the colors. The colors will be presented today by the Pembroke Pines Police and Fire Honor Guards.
March on, march. Colors, up. Right, face. Present, good.
I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Remember where you were on that fateful morning. Remember how it felt. Remember the shock, the sense of extreme tragedy and loss. Remember our second day of infamy, the greatest tragedy, catastrophe to face America since another blindsided attack that ushered us into World War II. May we never forget. Vice Mayor, we thank you, and Mayor Ortiz and the commissioners of this city for sponsoring this event for us today, so that we have an opportunity to never forget. This wasn't just a distant event in New York City, in Washington, D.C., in the fields of Pennsylvania. This was an intimate event that touched all of us deeply. And even these 12 years later, continues to touch us deeply. Never forget. Never forget brave men and women like those seated in the first three rows of our gathering today, who, when others were fleeing from danger, they were rushing into harm's way, just as they're willing to do every single day of every single week, of every single month, of every single year. Let us never forget to honor them and to thank them. Let us not forget that today we continue to enjoy freedom because soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardmen stand their posts today as we gather here. And they continue to war. They continue to make sacrifices. They continue to fight for not only freedom here in the United States of America, but for freedom-loving people all around the world. May we never forget, and may we never see one of them without our hearts filled with a sense of sincere thanksgiving. I'm going to invite you now to join me in a song. Let's sing that beautiful song of America, America the Beautiful. Would you join me as we sing that together? Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Would you rise again for a moment of meditation?
For almost 20 years, my family and I have lived in Florida, and it's become our home. We consider ourselves Floridians, but I never forget that growing up, I grew up in New York City. And while 9/11 was an event that took place in various locations, not only was New York City struck, but also Washington, D.C., and a field in Pennsylvania. It's impossible for me to forget that I grew up in the shadow of the World Trade Center. And for us, it was more than just a building. It was a statement facing out into the Atlantic toward the rest of the world saying, we're here, we're free, you're welcome, come here, we're special. And when those buildings were attacked, it was more than just a building that was brought down. It was an intentionally picked target to try and demoralize, to try and divide, to try and test the ability of our nation to be who and what we are. In these last 12 years, they've been very difficult years. They've been years where we have been tested as a community, as a country, as a nation, in many, many ways. But just as today, if you go to that site, you will see new buildings coming up, going up to the sky, daring again to face out to the rest of the world and say, we're here, we're free, we've survived it. So too must we, each of us, in our own way, put down our grief. It's been 12 years. We will never forget, but grief is no longer the appropriate response to this, but rather a redoubling of our resolve to be exactly those people who others would have made us not be. And that is why, when those sirens go off at 8:46 every year, whether you're in the fire department or police department and they hear these sirens every day, or whether you're just a civilian like us who are impressed by the incredible honor that we put together every year for this event. That's why we get that feeling, that surge of emotion, because we are human beings, and because we're Americans, and because we're proud, and because we're hurt for what happened. But what we have to do, what we must do, what we can make no political excuse for not doing, is moving forward in a more positive way. Because it's only in that way that those that died can be honored. Not by words, as Lincoln said, but by our acts. Allow me to introduce to you Commissioner Carl Shechter for a few words, and then we'll continue.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Apparently, on a day like this, all of our thoughts run pretty much parallel. Those of you who know me know that I don't do long speeches, and I'll try to continue that tradition today. We're here to remember and honor and mourn 3,000 innocent people who died on 9/11/2001. Another day that will live in infamy. We should always remember them, not as heroes or as patriots, but as people, even as you and I, friends, colleagues, neighbors, who died because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sunday on 60 Minutes, it was reported that a memorial museum is being built at the World Trade Center to memorialize this tragic event. When that museum opens, I'm going to fly to New York to pay my respects to those who died, and all those countless thousands who suffered the loss of a parent, a child, a husband, a wife, a lover, or a friend, whose lives were changed forever. Today, we should also remember, honor, and mourn the 4,488 patriotic young men and women who died in Iraq, and the 2,270 who died in Afghanistan. They too fought and died to protect and defend us from an unseen enemy. They too died because of this day of infamy, and they too were in the wrong place at the wrong time. On this day of infamy, we lost a way of life that we once knew and loved. We once enjoyed open borders with our good neighbors Mexico to the south and Canada to the north. Today there are fences, checkpoints, and boots on the ground. We once flew when and where we chose. I recently flew to New York. I had to be in the airport 2 hours before boarding. Because I'm more than 75 years old, I didn't have to take off my shoes. Great. But I had to take off my belt, empty my pockets, pass through a full body scanner, and have my carry-on bag x-rayed and inspected. Today, we have to show picture ID to vote, and our phone calls and emails are monitored. The backlash of that day of infamy is still with us. I often think about where we've been as a nation and where we are now, and I believe that if we can all come together as Americans to restore those freedoms and liberties that our unseen enemy has taken from us, one day we too may be remembered as patriots. Thank you.
Present with us today are Felix Gonzalez and Ben Menashe, who together created this beautiful memorial as artists. Missing today is their muse and constant supporter, Terry T. Sherman, who we lost this past summer. But I know that their work will endure many years, and we are thankful for their contribution. Allow me please to introduce Commissioner Jay Schwartz.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For me, it takes on a level of just raw emotion. 12 years ago, plus a week, my wife and I found out that we were pregnant for the first time. And today, my 12-year-old son is here with his younger brother so that they won't forget. They ask, they go, Daddy, why did they do this? Why is there evil in the world? We're America. It's through the viewpoint of a child at times that can actually make us a greater nation. To put aside our political differences and to know that we are the beacon of light, democracy, and freedom on this planet. There is no greater feeling than to say, I am proud to be an American. I want to thank the heroes, our police and fire, throughout this nation who continue to protect and to serve and to run towards danger. We as Americans, we as citizens, owe them a great deal of gratitude, but we must do more. We must come together as a nation and to focus on the things that are truly important. To preserve and to protect the Constitution of the United States by showing each other respect while we may disagree with one another, and to know that it's all about our children. Commissioner Shechter mentioned the over 6,000 men and women who died in conflict. I want to recognize the more than 10,000 that were wounded. I want to recognize our VA who, for decades, hadn't had so many men and women having to look after since Vietnam. See, in my generation, there was no war. For my children, they don't know a world without one. I'm proud to be an American today. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here, our Arts and Culture Board, for bestowing upon us a memorial that will last forever. Please keep in mind today thoughts and prayers for everyone in the nation. Thank you.
This day reminds us that although we've made heroes out of professional athletes, we've made heroes out of entertainers, this day reminds us who the real heroes are, doesn't it? It reminds us that these men and women who every day get up and go to work, their families never 100% sure that they're going to come home that day. As many families tragically experienced on 9/11. And again, although sometimes our police department, we're a little annoyed with you when you pull us over and we're going 75 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. We thank you that you're there to do that. We really do. But so much more, we thank you that you're there keeping us safe every single day. Thank you for what you do for us. Fire rescue, we're thankful that you're there when the negative consequences of going 75 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone occur. And no matter how horrific that scene is, you're there. No matter what time of the day or night, we know you're there. And we appreciate you so much. Thank you for the job that you do and for your willingness every day. And I know every one of you. I know you because I know so many of you personally. That to you, you're doing your job. And that's how every one of those responders felt on 9/11. They were doing their job. But it's not just a job to us. We thank you that you're there, and we're more secure that you're there. And let's all make an effort today, after this ceremony, to get by and to shake one of their hands and to tell them individually. And I know they don't want us to, and they'll be embarrassed by it, but let's do it so that they really know that these aren't just my sentiments or Vice Mayor Castillo's sentiments. These are America's sentiments. And we want to thank you all dearly for what you do. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Included, of course, in that recognition are the many civilian employees of the City of Pembroke Pines, including those from the Parks Department who work so hard to put together events such as this. Let us show them also our appreciation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to call upon a good friend of Pembroke Pines, Clerk of the Court, Howard Foreman, for some words.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and citizens of Pembroke Pines. I think this ceremony that we have in Pembroke Pines is not equaled anywhere in the state of Florida. I don't know about the rest of the country, but you do such a wonderful job on remembering such a day. And I have a message here from Commissioner Seipel, who could not be here today, and I'd like to read it. It's brief, and I'd like to read it for you. I'm sorry I'm not able to attend this remembrance ceremony today. On September 11, 2001 will always be in our hearts and minds as we remember those who lost their lives on that horrible, indescribable day. We remember and pray for those family members that remain and only have memories of their lost loved ones. We also remember those brave first responders who flirted with death, attempted to just do their job. And so are the brave and dear of all of us. The United States remains a strong and brave country, whether flying high or at half-mast. May Old Glory forever wave as the symbol of this great country and its proud people. Thank you. Thank you.
I have the honor today to read a proclamation of the City of Pembroke Pines on the occasion of 2013 September 11th National Day of Service and Remembrance. Whereas on September 11th, 2001, the American people endured with courage and heroism the worst attack on the United States soil in the nation's history, and whereas in response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of patriotism and unity and carried out countless acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion, and whereas community organizations and family members of 9/11 victims began observing the anniversary of September 11th as a charitable service day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response to the tragedy, including first responders and volunteers, and whereas the Edward M. Kennedy Service America Act, provided by Congress and enacted into law on April 21st, 2009, requested September 11th to be observed and recognized as annual National Day of Service and Remembrance, and charged the Corporation for National and Community Services with leading this nationwide effort. And whereas participating in service and remembrance activities on September 11th is a positive and respectful way to remember the lives of those lost, pay tribute to those who rose in service, and honor those who continue to serve our country today, including veteran soldiers, military families, and first responders. And whereas September 11th, National Day of Service and Remembrance activities are being organized by a wide range of nonprofits, faith-based, and community groups, public agencies, educational institutions, private businesses, and other organizations across the nation. And whereas on September 11th, 2013, and on the days leading up to and following this day, the citizens of Pembroke Pines have an opportunity to participate in activities that honor 9/11 victims and heroes, joining together in service projects to meet community needs. Now, therefore, I, Frank C. Ortis, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, do hereby proclaim September 11th a day of service and remembrance in Pembroke Pines, and call upon the people of Pembroke Pines to honor the lives and memories of those lost through participation in community service and remembrance ceremonies on this day and throughout the year, and it is signed on our behalf as the City Commission by the Mayor and endorsed by the City Clerk.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America. Oh, God